Wow, it was yet another busy day in Metropolis for James Gunn. Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, on Instagram Movies TV Mad X, and now on TikTok. Mick isn't perfect because guess what? Mick isn't perfect and he's quite fine with all his flaws inside and out. Welcome to this 30-minute extended video talking DC Universe and Superman Legacy casting. And we are going to really cover some things today. So I want to go back to yesterday's video where we spoke about Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. So those talks are ongoing. It's definitely going to happen, but James Gunn hasn't officially confirmed it yet because talks are ongoing. But it's going to happen. Nicholas Hoult is going to play Lex Luthor in Superman Legacy. We spoke all about that yesterday. Check out that video. But we have two new castings. One's for Jimmy Olsen and the other one is for Eve Teschmacher. Now this is very interesting because we had a Miss Teschmacher in Superman the movie and in Superman 2. I'm not sure if this is kind of a similar character. Because in the comics and in animation, Lex seems to have different types of female, kind of accomplices. Now, Jesse Eisenberg also had a female accomplice in Batman vs. Superman. If Superman Returns, Lex Luthor again had another female accomplice as well. So it seems to be a thing in Superman movies. So we'll see how she fares. Very interesting casting. So let's have a look at this. James Gunn has added Skylar Gisondo as Jimmy Olsen. I know zero about this actor, so if you know more than me, which would be a hell of a lot more, 100% more, please shove it down in the comments. Come and find me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad and tag me and let me know some information about him. But yes, I've seen a picture of him. So he looks how Jimmy Olsen should look. I've spoke about Jimmy being very important to this movie and to the Superman story. And I know he wasn't really involved in the Snyderverse because Snyder doesn't find him that interesting or important, but he is. He's basically a normie's way into the story. I've spoken about this before, a bit boring, but I'll say it again. He's a school leaver. He comes to work for the biggest, most famous newspaper in the world, and he becomes Superman's best pal. That's brilliant. That brings relatability to young people who don't know much about Superman. So I'm very happy with his involvement. As I say, I've seen Skylar's picture, and it looks like great casting. As we spoke about yesterday's casting of Nicholas Hoult as Lex, James Gunn has this brilliant record in casting, whether you like him or not. So we also have Sarah Sampaio as Eve Teschmacher. Now, I did speak with Sarah on Twitter yesterday as she came on. Very excited to get the role. So we did exchange some words on Twitter, which is a lot of fun. If you're nice to people, they will respond to you. It really isn't that difficult. Anyway, so I spoke to Sarah, very happy with her casting. She's a very talented lady, absolutely stunning as well, which is not important, of course. But yes, two very good, strong castings here for the iconic Jimmy Olsen. And we'll see what kind of character Eve Teschmacher is in this movie. So that, they're two of the things going on. Of course, there's a multitude of rumours. And there's another rumour about someone who could be playing General Sam Lane. I'm going to go and look it up, and I'm going to be right back, and we're going to really delve into this. And this is why you always should get clarification from the main man, James Gunn, if you can. I heard a very juicy rumour about someone who could be playing General Sam Lane in Superman Legacy, and I liked it. Basically, it's someone who's been in a lot of James Gunn's movies, if not all of them. Michael Rooker, who I first saw in JFK, brilliant performance, brilliant actor, then in The Walking Dead, then in Guardians, of course. So he's worked a lot with James Gunn. So there was a very juicy rumour that he would be playing General Sam Lane. Basically now James has confirmed that Michael Rooker will not be in Superman Legacy in any way, shape or form. But doesn't matter, it doesn't, let me say that again, it doesn't mean that he won't turn up in something else in DC Universe. I have a lot of time for Michael. Just because you're a friend of James Gunn's, it doesn't mean you shouldn't turn up in the DC Universe. And I know some people get offended by that. So yes, he's not playing General Sam Lane, if you've heard about that one. Now, I think Michael Rooker would have been a great Sam Lane. I think he has everything. So it's obvious we are getting a General Sam Lane in Superman Legacy and in DC Universe. It's very, very interesting. For the first time, really, we're going very, very traditional comic book Superman, if you like. A Jimmy Olsen, a General Sam Lane. You know, these are things that we didn't see in the Christopher Reeve era, or in the Snyderverse, or in Bryan Singer's Superman Returns. I think you need a Jimmy Olsen. I think you need a General Sam Lane. Yes, we had a Jimmy Olsen in the Reeve era, and of course in Superman Returns. But I mean all the bells and whistles, like characters like Lobo. These are things that fans, like general comic book fans, are excited about and will be excited about. It's good to have General Sam Lane in this franchise because he's a bloody good character. He's an interesting character and he's Lois Lane's father. It complicates her character and gives us another side of her character and why she is who and what she is. And it complicates the relationship between Superman, Clark and Lois as well, which always makes things very, very tasty and juicy. These are the elements I've always wanted to see. And, you know, we as I say, we had a General Sam Lane fleetingly in Smallville. At least they used him. At least they understood the importance of that character. He was, you know, he's brilliant in Superman and Lois as well. And I think if you've got these great tools from the comics, you should use them. And this is what James Gunn is doing. And of course, it's not lost on me that most of the casting thus far is not doing any cultural swaps. I mean, Superman is, you know, who he should be. Lois is who she should be. Jimmy is who he should be. And Eve Teschmacher is obviously played by a Latin actor. And that's fine. That's okay, because there's not really any rule there what kind of culture she should be. And that's fine. And nobody cares. And you need representation there. And I think I do really enjoy watching, you know, Latin-like inclusion and representation, you know, in entertainment, because there's not enough of it. And sometimes, let's be honest, they don't exactly choose the right people. It's just like, oh, you're from the Latin community. Yeah, you stand there and then we can say it's good to be seen, right? But like Sarah as Eve Teschmacher is really good casting because she is absolutely brilliant. And I can't wait to see her in that role. She's going to give us the mischief and the fun of that character as well. So I'm really, really excited. But yeah, there's still a lot of casting to be done with this film. Now, I think it's very interesting because, look, I think Lobo is absolutely in Superman Legacy. I believe that. I've always believed that. Jason Momoa couldn't shut his mouth about it. James Gunn posted a picture of Lobo the other day from the comics. Yes, I believe Jason Momoa is playing Lobo. I believe he was offered this role to kind of calm down the situation that they were going to basically cancel his version of Aquaman. We know how much Jason has loved this character. Not that Jason has any say in the matter. If they don't want to make any more Aquaman movies or Aquaman content with you as Aquaman, then you're done. You're only an actor at the end of the day. We're not talking about Robert De Niro or Al Pacino. Even they wouldn't have a say whether they play these characters or not. But yeah, I think it was an olive branch. And he's always wanted to play Lobo. He looks like Lobo, and they'll make him look even more like Lobo. It's great. So I think, when can we expect confirmation that Jason will be playing Lobo in DC Universe, but more importantly, Superman Legacy? I believe that once Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom has had its, theatrical run. That's done. They'll announce it. They may even announce it during the film to uplift the film. We spoke about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom yesterday. I did a quick trailer spot reaction. Really excited for all of you to see that film. I really like that film. I'd love to know what you think of it once you see it. But yeah, Jason Momoa is absolutely moving on from Aquaman. And I think Lobo is really, we saw him play a villain in the latest Fast and the Furious movie. It was the latest, wasn't it? And I thought he played a really, really good villain. Well, this is look, Lobo isn't a pure villain. Lobo's a bit in the middle. He does do bad stuff, but he isn't evil. And it's important to understand that. And you can get a lot of fun from the relationship between Lobo and Superman, because they are stark opposites. But Lobo has had a very different background to Clark, and I think that's interesting. And this is the fascination for me with James Gunn doing this, because he is going totally comic book if you want. He's spoken about, the DCU being more fantastical than the MCU. Again, I like that because I'm bored of grounded stuff all the time. Don't get me wrong. I love these directors like Reeves and Snyder and Nolan doing their grounded stuff. But I don't believe everything should be grounded all the time. And I think if you ground all superhero universes, you take that wonder and escapism from them. And if it's all grounded and it's all like, it's got to be like it's in this world, well, that's a bit boring. It's okay with Batman. I think Brave and the Bold will also be very fantastical. And James Gunn has also hinted about that. And this is what I want. I want a more fantastical universe, because we are going to get, I'm sure we're going to get characters like Zatanna, but not yet. Don't forget, J.J. Abrams was going to delve into the Zatanna Justice League Dark Universe, which of course you won't be doing anymore. It'll be interesting if James Gunn gets into that. But James Gunn, if you haven't got a Fred's account, you probably should get one and follow James Gunn, because that's where he's doing all his talking there, and Instagram. He barely goes on Twitter. He's been driven off Twitter, sadly, by a lot of the Snyderverse stans. Not the fans. There's thousands of you I love. Proper good fans. I'm a Snyderverse fan as well. It's the stans that went after Gunn and chased him off of Twitter. It's very, very sad, because we all have things we don't want the world to know about us, and unearthing them and being toxic about a person isn't very clever. If we focused on you, we could find things on you. If you focused on me, you could find things on me. Everyone has a past. Everyone has bad takes. We can all unearth each other's history. It doesn't make you right just because you found some dirt on a person. But this is the internet today. If you upset someone, they're going to go rooting into your past, your old takes, just to make you look bad. Personally, I don't care, because we all make mistakes, right? And at the end of the day, James Gunn is a very capable writer-director, and I'm excited to at least taste the meal that he's serving, the dish that he's making. Because I love DC. I love Superman. I love Batman. I love Wonder Woman. I love these other characters we haven't seen very much of, or anything at all of, in live action. We saw Lobo in the Krypton series very briefly. We saw the potential in that character. And, having Momoa play him is very, very clever by James Gunn. Because, he's very, I think that Momoa is very close again with Peter Safran. Peter Safran trying to keep some people from the old DCEU regime. So it'll be interesting what happens here. Personally, even though Safran was connected with the DCEU, which I kind of think is a little bit of a problem for me, I still always liked Safran, the way he spoke during movie marketing events. I thought he was a lot more. Look, Hamada wouldn't talk barely, so he was the talking arm of the Hamadaverse. But I did always like the way how measured Safran was in talking about films. He kept to the films. He stayed away from politics. He was very measured. He kind of reminded me of Kevin Feige in the measured way he used to speak, when he seemed to know what he was doing. Did he ever know what he was doing? Is it him who should have the credit for the MCU? I can't tell you that. I do have my suspicions though. Anyway, and so, yeah, I'd love to know in the comments down below what you think of these castings thus far. Nicholas Hoult is not official yet, as I've already said, but it's in the bag. That is happening. These two castings for Jimmy Olsen and Eve Teschmacher are official now. I said this to you the other day, that I expect some casting for Perry White and Sam Lane. I think that Sam Lane is definitely incoming. I think that Lex Luthor will probably be announced on his own to give Nick that status and the character the status that he deserves. But I believe like characters like Perry White and Sam Lane will be announced on the same day. Of course, look out for the casting of Ma and Pa Kent. I've heard some interesting things about that one. I am not at liberty to speak about. Again, very, very exciting, boys and girls. Very exciting. I can't wait. Ma and Pa Kent, you know, Jor-El and Lara, those castings are absolutely gonna happen. And look, it's an exciting time right now because we've got this situation with, you know, Supergirl. Supergirl is now in development. It now has a writer. So, you know, this is very, very interesting because Supergirl is going to be written by a playwright and an actress. And we spoke about this the other day because I think maybe we may see Supergirl in Superman Legacy, maybe in a post-credit scene, which means they're going to have to announce her very soon as an actor. They're going to have to announce who is playing Supergirl. This is a very interesting situation to me, boys and girls, because do they keep Sasha Calle? I think there's a big chance of them keeping Sasha Calle, considering it's the same writer, actor, playwright who was going to do Sasha's movie. So that's interesting. So Sasha has a great chance. James Gunn's already spoken to her. But what we don't know is the details of those conversations. Don't forget, James Gunn spoke to Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill as well. And look what happened there. So it doesn't necessarily mean anything. I think there's a 50% chance that Sasha will keep the role. But I think there's another 50% chance that he'll go for somebody else. And that will be interesting. I think he seems to like... James seems to like Latinx actors, female actors. So don't be surprised if we get a Latinx Supergirl casting as well. Again, I'm fine with that kind of thing. I don't mind if they casted a Latinx male actor for Superman. I don't mind that either. Because I think that's not as culturally dramatic as having a black guy playing someone who's always been white. As I say, we've got two brilliant, you know, black versions of Superman in the comics. I'm happy to see that. I want to see Kal-El standing with these two men of colour who are Supermen all together. I think that's proper, real diversity. I think that's how it's done. But yeah, so that's another piece of casting to look out for. I think you will be surprised when you hear it announced, but I believe that Supergirl, the actor playing Supergirl, will be announced very soon. If it's Sasha Calle, it's going to be very soon. If it's not Sasha, then obviously we're not going to hear as soon as we think we would if it was Sasha Calle. But yeah, I think that's a very intriguing situation. Who plays Supergirl? And there's a rumour that the showrunner of the first season of Loki is actually going to be directing Supergirl. I don't know. Look, I don't know. I thought Loki Series 1 was okay. Well, I'm not sure if she would direct a good Supergirl movie, but James Gunn's making these decisions. He has to make the right decisions for his vision. As I said yesterday, it's not about making the right... as a fan, I don't get to demand what you do, but what you do still has to be enjoyed by me and the rest of the world. And that's the key point here. I have so much admiration for James Gunn. Standing in the middle of the fire, this is huge. The job he's doing here is huge. And if it fails, his career is over. There's no question about that. He's taking a big risk, especially writing and directing a Superman movie. He's clearly a very confident man. Sometimes a little bit too overconfident, but there's nothing wrong with, a tad of overconfidence, as long as sometimes you allow the fear in and understand your own flaws as a creative, as a writer, as a director, and as a person, and then it's okay. But I have so much respect for him because he's taking a huge risk here. He's made some enemies out of the Snyder fans, obviously, but none of that matters if he creates a great universe and creates a great movie. If Superman Legacy is the movie that I think it could be, then he's going to win here. And if he wins, DC fans win. No, Snyder fans don't win. That's a shame. I'm a Snyder fan, so the Snyder fan part of me loses. But I win on December the 22nd when I watch Rebel Moon, and I win every time I watch Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, Dawn of Justice, and Zack Snyder's Justice League Snyder Cut. Those films are there. They can never be taken away. But it would be remiss of me to take away the opportunity of watching this build-up to yet another Superman film. Superman the movie was the first film these eyes ever saw. So, I would be robbing myself out of something special at the age of 51, where this could be the final chance to see a living, breathing DC universe. And that's what I've spoken about Superman Legacy before. This is what this film is going to present. A living, breathing DC universe. It's not going to be something that we have to slowly build up to, like the DCEU or the MCU. This film's going to arrive and it's all going to be there for us. But this is something we can discuss in the last 10 minutes or so, or however long it takes me to talk about it. Will Superman be a member of the Justice League in Superman Legacy if there is indeed going to be a Justice League? I would imagine, look, there's two ways we're going to go at the Justice League with the DC Universe and James Gunn. Either, initially, they're going to go with the Authority, which is a bad example of people, metahumans with abilities, being in a team, and maybe that's the example when they fall, the Justice League gets built up. Or there's already an existing Justice League, but Superman isn't yet a part of it. Now, if he is a part of it, obviously he hasn't been a part of it for too long. But it wouldn't surprise me if James Gunn, doesn't have him, in the Justice League, at first. So that wouldn't surprise me either. And maybe he's approached in Superman Legacy to join the Justice League. That will be a fun thing, Now, I think in the comics, I'm not sure, but I think it is Superman who kind of founded the Justice League. Am I wrong? I'm not sure. Is it Batman? Is it Superman? Someone with a lot more knowledge of the comics than me can tell you that. Now, like in the Justice League animated series, Superman's literally the head of the Justice League. He's the one who stands up and addresses everyone in the first episode of Justice League. Not Justice League Unlimited, that was the next thing, which I loved as well, by the way. But yeah, in the original Justice League animated show, really Superman was in charge, but normally you'd have Batman and Wonder Woman backing him when he was talking. So they were the heads of the Justice League. So I think it would be quite fun to have like maybe Wonder Woman and Batman approach Superman at some point in Superman Legacy, because this is an interesting thing as well, isn't it? Will we see Wonder Woman in Superman Legacy? He hasn't addressed that because we don't really know who's playing Wonder Woman. Now, he somewhat claims that Gal Gadot is still Wonder Woman, but his claims of this have been somewhat muted. So there's something definitely strange going on with Gal and the Wonder Woman character. So it's going to be interesting what he does there. But it wouldn't surprise me if we see Batman and Wonder Woman in this movie. But, maybe he feels he doesn't want to overshadow Superman too much. It will be interesting. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that Superman will be part of the Justice League if there is a Justice League in Superman Legacy. And it's something they may want to build up to. And as I say, either, the Authority is the only, superpowered, metahuman team out there. And as I say, they're a bad example. When they fall, that's when they get the idea to build up the Justice League, or it could already be there. Very, very interesting. But with James Gunn at the helm, there's somewhat so many possibilities. There really is. To be a more fantastical comic booky film, which I think, let's be honest, Man of Steel really wasn't a comic booky film. Batman vs Superman really wasn't a comic booky film, and neither was the Snyder Cut. These are really movies related in reality, asking the question, what would happen if these heroes were in our real world? Gritty, realistic takes, like what Nolan does, what Snyder does, and what Reeves is doing with the Batman. And to a point, to an aesthetic really, what Todd Phillips did with Joker, and what he's doing with Joker Folie à Deux, although from what I hear, that film is a lot more fantastical, and I can't wait to see that next year. If you're interested, there's a big spread on the Penguin as well. I think it's in Total Film or Empire, whatever it is, so check that out. The hype for that series, which is also coming out in 2024 alongside Joker Folie à Deux. And things like the Penguin and Joker Folie à Deux are just things that Marvel Studios and Fake can't compete with. Even if they do these original Marvel movies they're talking about, it's Disney. They can't compete with this kind of filmmaking. This is why I've always said that this really is the best way for DC live action to go. More of the Elseworlds rather than the cinematic universe. But Zaslav wants a cinematic universe, and James Gunn is going to build it for him. James Gunn is putting his reputation on the line, but he's very confident he can pull this off, and there's a lot of fans that believe in James Gunn. People may not want to believe that, but there is a side of the fandom that believe in him. But here's the thing, the people who believe in him didn't back him and go and watch this year's DCEU movies. That may be because people thought, what's the point of watching these movies? It's dead. The movies are going to be shit. There's no future in them, so what's the point? We will see. There's clearly a lot of excitement with James Gunn running DC Universe, because this is something that a lot of DC fans have wanted ever since they saw the first Guardians of the Galaxy. So it's an interesting situation, and certainly the decisions being made, as far as I'm concerned thus far, and in terms of Superman Legacy, are not bad decisions. They're very good decisions. The casting is very, very exciting, and as I say, it'll be very interesting to see who he does cast as Ma and Pa Kent. Probably there'll be famous faces, as will Jor-El and Lara. Now, I've heard two conflicting rumours that Kurt Russell will play Jor-El, but I've also heard another rumour that he's playing Pa Kent, which is also very interesting. What do I think? Would it be a better Jor-El or Pa Kent? I think Kurt Russell would be an awesome Pa Kent. I think, as I say, James Gunn's casting record is brilliant. And I think, Kurt Russell would be absolutely perfect. And maybe Madeline Stowe as Ma Kent. I think she's at a perfect age. I think that would be brilliant. Obviously, Madeline's always been a very, very glamorous, attractive actor. But I think that would be perfect. But we'll see what happens there. But it's clear that Russell Crowe, like Nicholas Hoult with Lex Luthor, is going to play someone in this movie. I'm actually very shocked that Michael Rooker will have no involvement in Superman Legacy. Is Rooker involved in Creature Commandos? I can't remember. But don't be surprised if he turns up in one of James Gunn's other movies. So it's all very, very exciting. We're getting some rumours, some solid casting, and I think once this is all casted, and next year when it goes into production and we start seeing all the pictures, it's going to be very awesome. And after the casting, the next thing to look forward to, of course, is what Superman's costume will look like. What it will look like on David. These are things to get very hyped. Will David Corenswet's costume have the red trunks? I've always believed that's the case. The red trunks are coming back because James Gunn is going at this in a very traditional way. In fact, I'll take the L's, but I would be somewhat surprised, extremely surprised, if Superman's new costume isn't implementing the red trunks. The red trunks weren't used for the Snyderverse. They were used for Superman Returns. I think the red trunks can work if you design the costume properly in a modern way. So the future is bright for DC. I believe the future is more bright for DC than it is for the MCU right now. They're finally getting their shit together.